I'm Batman.
So, as we all know, it's no secret that DC needs to step up their villain game in their movies. Is that fair to say? I think so. Specifically, the way they look. It seems like every time that they release some kind of promotional picture for one of their villains in their movie, whether it be like Lex Luthor or, Doomsday in the trailers or whatever, it's immediately followed by just this slew of negative publicity. Man of Steel had Zod, who I guess was fine, but there was only just something that bugged me about the way he looked, His hairline. It was like just the weirdest hairline I've ever seen. I don't even know what they were thinking with this. But it's got like the perfect little spikes in his hair. And it's not just in the scenes in the beginning or something. It's like every single scene he's in, he's got like these perfect little spikes going down on his bangs. What's going on with that? He looks like before and after he gets punched in the face by the man with the strength of a god, he uses one of those little tiny hair straighteners for your bangs on each of his individual spikes so he can look more menacing. It was just the weirdest thing ever. It was just unsettling. And then in Batman vs. Superman, had both Lex Luthor and Doomsday as their villains. And do I really need to even say anything about these two? What did they expect was going to happen? Hey guys, you know those villains that everybody loves? Oh yeah, you mean the ones that have been the same for 30 years? Oh yeah. Let's just change literally everything about them. But isn't that gonna upset people? Nah. Lex Luthor looks in this movie like that one guy in the train that you try not to look at in the eye just in case he starts talking to you about pee in a jar or something. And it's not like Doomsday was even remotely better. Doomsday just looks like if that cave troll from Lord of the Rings had fibrodysplasia. And then there was that whole Joker fiasco in Suicide Squad with I can get behind that whole gangster thing that they were trying to go for, but for crap's sake, what's with the grills? He's the Joker. His smile is the single most important thing that makes him distinct. What were they smoking when they came up with that costume design? And then the whole no eyebrows thing. Why? It just looks so odd. With Heath Ledger, he had no eyebrows, but he had a lot of eyeshadow or eyeliner or whatever they want to call it. So it didn't come across as being quite so unsettling. It didn't look so weird. In this one, his face, it looks like it's missing something. And his forehead looks with no eyebrows, your forehead looks huge. And it doesn't help with that little tramp stamp they put on his forehead. And so now we come to Wonder Woman. For some people, it's this pivotal movie in the franchise, right? Because the other ones were meh. So luckily, it's getting much better reviews from both critics and fans alike than the other films. So naturally, we can assume they stopped making these weird, stupid decisions about the way the villains look, right? Well, actually, I really liked Ares in this movie. If you haven't seen it, yeah, click away because I'm going to be talking about some spoilers, but they do this little switcheroo thing at the end where they kind of mislead the audience into thinking Ares is the German general when he's actually one of the so-called good guys. I thought that was kind of cool because it introduced this little idea of perception versus reality where you can be so convinced that you're fighting the bad team that you're on the bad team all along, because they were kind of working under his orders. It also did this interesting thing where Ares, unlike what Diana was told, or Wonder Woman or whatever, Ares doesn't actually control people directly. The evil acts people commit were actually on their own. He merely would spark the war where the humans would do the rest. But as usual, there was this just one thing that just really bothered me about his design. You see, in the movie, he's got this ridiculous mustache. It's so distracting when he suddenly becomes the villain and puts on this big intimidating suit of armor, and then you see through the helmet and he's got this little goofy looking mustache. Why didn't they follow every other adaptation of Ares and just make his whole face dark inside of his helmet with his eyes growing red or yellow or something? Or better yet, make him embodying this army general guy, and then when he actually shows up in person as Ares, he just kind of lets the guy go or whatever, and then he's this big menacing guy and we never actually end up seeing his face because he has a suit of armor on. Can I just stress something? Ares does not need a face. He's the living embodiment of war. He's the Greek god of war. His face does not mean anything. It's irrelevant. He just needs to look intimidating and like some Greek god, like you would expect from any other adaptation of him ever. This face does not scream war. This face said, "Would you care for more tea, sir?" And then to make matters worse, there's this little flashback scene showing when Ares was originally beaten by Zeus. And when he takes his helmet off, in this flashback, he has the same damn mustache thousands of years ago. Really? Like, he had this World War I era mustache, and that made sense at least in World War I. But, like, really? You got this little, like, mustache in ancient Greece? I find that very hard to believe, as the style back then was full beard and nobody wore mustaches. In fact, the oldest known mustache was around 300 BC, whereas Wikipedia puts the Greek religion, and therefore Ares' mustache, around 500 BC, a full 200 years before mustaches were even invented. So there, I have debunked your mustache, you buffoon. Like Jesus, but it looks like he stole Franz Ferdinand's mustache before killing him. Like, I don't have a picture of it, but just picture this just absolutely terrifying face, but with a scary helmet. I just don't get why they just didn't give him a beard. That would have been both historically accurate for ancient Greece and for World War I. And having a beard looks at least somewhat scary. Like, if they were really dedicated to having you be able to see his face through the helmet, either make him clean-shaven or give him a beard. Though that would have made sense for both times. But no, they have to give him this little World War I mustache. It's like they couldn't just leave it. They had to have some element that just didn't make any sense whatsoever. So, I guess here's to hoping that they don't give Darkseid a Fu Manchu or something.